Sterling Maddox's eyes locked onto the horizon, where 70 Apache warriors sat as still as statues atop their horses. They had been there since dawn, motionless, watching him without a word or a twitch, neither advancing nor retreating. The emptiness of the ridge behind them made it impossible to gauge distance, impossible to anticipate threat. Sterling's hand brushed the empty holster at his side, not out of need, not for a weapon he no longer had, but for a hollow sense of reassurance he couldn't find. Yesterday this ridge had been silent and empty. Yesterday he had made a choice he thought was simple. Yesterday he had given his only horse to carry a wounded Apache woman to safety, leaving himself stranded 20 miles from the nearest settlement. And now those 70 warriors held something in their hands that made no sense. Each clutched a single white feather. Sterling had never seen an Apache use white feathers this way. Not for war paint, not for ceremony, not for anything he had ever learned or imagined. The woman, the one who had whispered her name, Ayana, before collapsing into unconsciousness, was nowhere among them. Sterling had expected arrows. He had expected war cries. He had expected to pay dearly for wandering into Apache lands, even with good intentions. Instead, they just watched. And that silence, that perfect stillness, felt more dangerous than any scream of battle ever could. For all his years on the frontier, Sterling knew one immutable truth. Apaches always had a reason. Every movement, every ritual, every silent gesture had purpose. And whatever reason had brought 70 warriors to sit in formation, clutching white feathers while staring down an unarmed cowboy, it was something he couldn't begin to understand. The sun climbed higher, casting long, sharp shadows between Sterling and the silent ridge, and he felt the weight of what he'd done yesterday pressing down on him. He had been riding through the canyon when he heard it, a soft moan, echoing off the rock walls. Following the sound, he found her collapsed beside a dried creek bed, blood seeping through a makeshift bandage wrapped around her leg. The wound was infected, her fever burning through her pale skin. Any sensible man would have ridden away. Apache territory meant death for trespassers. Helping one of their women could be seen as insult or provocation, but something in her dark eyes froze him in place. Not pleading exactly, more a resigned dignity that mirrored his own. Sister in her final hours. Sterling had lifted her onto his horse without a word. She was too weak to protest, drifting in and out of consciousness as he led, the animal on foot through the unforgiving terrain. For 6 hours he had walked beside the horse, her slumping body swaying with every step, whispering words he couldn't understand. When they reached the edge of her territory, marked by 3 red stones, he had helped her down, watched her stagger toward a cluster of distant dwellings. Then he had done something that still made no sense to him. Instead of reclaiming his horse, he had patted its flank and sent it after her. The animal had followed Ayana like a loyal dog, and Sterling had been left empty-handed, watching his only valuable possession disappear into Apache lands. Now 18 hours later, his legs ached from walking through the night. His water was nearly gone, and those 70 warriors were treating him like a puzzle. The white feathers caught the morning light, mysterious and alien. One warrior, gray streaked through black hair, raised a hand, and the others moved in perfect response, shifting into a new formation. It was not aggressive, not threatening, but deliberate, calculated, like pieces on a chessboard whose rules he had never learned. The lead warrior descended the ridge, still holding his white feather. Sterling felt their gaze press against him like a tangible force. Every instinct screamed to flee, but where could he go, alone and on foot, in this vast, empty land? As the warrior approached, Sterling noticed something that chilled his blood. A necklace of small bones hung at his chest, and a scalp of brown hair, eerily matching Sterling's own. Yet the warrior's eyes carried no anger, no bloodlust, only expectation, a demand he couldn't decipher. The man stopped 10 feet away, speaking a single word in Apache, pointing to Sterling's chest with reverence. The word hovered in the air like a challenge Sterling could not comprehend. Behind the lead, 70 mounted warriors remained statuesque, white feathers stark against the sun-bleached landscape. Sterling raised both hands in a universal gesture of peace. I don't want trouble. I helped your woman because she was hurt. That's all. The warrior tilted his head, repeating the word hand over heart, gesturing toward the ridge where Ayana had disappeared. Sterling understood nothing. Then something entirely unexpected. The warrior smiled. Not a friendly smile, but one that spoke of secrets known, of truths beyond Sterling's understanding. From a leather pouch, he drew Sterling's own horse's bridle, custom-made, adorned with silver conchos given by his father. But now it bore painted symbols, markings Sterling had never seen. The warrior pointed at him, then the symbols, then back again, meaning unmistakable and profound. What Sterling had done mattered in ways he could not yet grasp. From the ridge came singing, high voices harmonizing in ways Sterling had never heard, a melody of celebration, gratitude, and something faintly mournful. The warrior noticed Sterling's confusion and nodded, offering a second white feather, identical to those of the others. Sterling hesitated, knowing acceptance felt like signing an unseen covenant. Finally, his fingers closed around the feather. The warrior nodded, satisfied, and signaled the others. Immediately, the formation shifted, moving parallel to him, escorting him. But toward where? And why did accepting a single feather feel heavier than losing his horse? The singing grew closer. Sterling turned and nearly faltered. From a canyon he had not noticed, a procession of Apache women and children emerged, led by an elder in an elaborate feathered headdress. And there, beside the elder, limping yet determined, was Ayanna, alive, conscious, her eyes holding gratitude tinged with something like pity. The elder approached with measured steps, authority emanating from every line of his weathered face. Women, children, and men watched Sterling closely, their singing continuing, weaving a sound that seemed to root him to the earth. Ayanna spoke first, careful English, her accent thick but clear.
My grandfather
wishes to thank the white man who gave life back to his granddaughter. Sterling's confusion deepened. I just helped someone who was hurt, he said. Anyone would have done the same. Ayanna translated. The elder listened, then corrected, speaking in rapid Apache. She turned back to Sterling, her dark eyes serious. Most men would have ignored her. Most would have sought reward or advantage. You gave away your most valuable possession to save an enemy. This is the act of someone who follows the old codes. The elder stepped closer, hand on Sterling's shoulder, voice carrying emotion beyond words. Ayanna translated. You have honored the sacred law of the horse gift. Giving a horse to save a life binds you to that life and its people. Ignorance does not change the binding. You are now connected to our tribe in ways that must be honored. Sterling's mouth went dry. Connected? How? The singing stopped abruptly. Silence pressed in. The elder spoke a single word in Apache. Every warrior raised their white feathers high. Ayanna translated, the connection requires a choosing. The sacred law demands the giver prove whether his heart matches his actions. If yes, he joins the tribe as family. If no, she paused, glancing nervously at the armed warriors. Sterling felt a chill. If no, your spirit is considered poisoned. Lies about sacred things must be punished. The horse is returned, but your honor is lost forever. He looked at the 70 warriors, at the elder's unwavering gaze, at Ayanna's worried face. He was trapped between two choices, each life-changing. The feather in his hand felt heavier than any horse he had ever owned. He realized a simple act of kindness had triggered an ancient ritual for which he was completely unprepared. The elder spoke again, words final. Ayanna translated, the choosing ceremony begins at sunset. Until then, you are our guest. After sunset, you will be either our brother or our enemy. There is no third path. The Apache village lay ahead, nestled in a basin between towering rocks. Sterling's first steps inside revealed a world unlike any he had imagined. The dwellings were arranged in precise patterns. Children watched curiously, women nodded respectfully, and men's expressions measured him silently. Ayanna walked beside him, her limp evident but her determination unwavering. You are wondering why no one shows fear or anger toward a white man in their sacred place, she observed. Sterling nodded. Fear and anger are for enemies. You are not yet enemy, and you are not yet family. You are between worlds, which makes you sacred until the choosing ceremony reveals your true nature. They approached a larger dwelling adorned with symbols Sterling couldn't read. Inside, the elder waited, seated on a woven mat. Sterling recognized his horse's bridle among several ritual items. An ornate knife, a clay pot of paint, a bundle of sage. He was gestured to sit. The elder's voice carried weight. Ayanna translated. 3 tests awaited. First, prove the gift came from genuine care. Second, demonstrate understanding of sacrifice through action. Third, show he could place the welfare of the tribe above his own survival. Sterling felt cold sweat form, What kind of sacrifice? And how would he prove he could prioritize others' welfare over his own life? The elder picked up the knife, the blade catching the sunlight streaming through the doorway. He spoke Apache. Ayana's voice trembled. The sacrifice is a test of trust. You must allow yourself to be bound, placed in danger, relying on the tribe's mercy. If your gift was pure, they will save you. If false, you will die for dishonoring sacred laws. Sterling's understanding sharpened. The 70 warriors had not come to fight him. They had come to judge him, and depending on their judgment, he would either be welcomed or die. The elder set down the knife and offered the clay pot. Its earthy scent reminded Sterling of his mother's prayers in the adobe church long gone. He dipped his finger and drew the same symbol on his forehead. The elder nodded with something akin to relief. Outside, the village moved with quiet urgency. Stones arranged into a circle, ropes braided from plant fibers, children gathering wood. All done with precision, all under the watchful eyes of the 70 mounted warriors. Surrounding the perimeter, Ayana adjusted Sterling's ceremonial clothing. Explaining, the first test would question his motives, bound and unable to defend himself except with truth. The elder's questions would probe his honesty, his compassion, his willingness to risk himself for others. The sun crept toward the horizon. Sterling sat at the center of the stone circle, hands bound behind his back. Torches flickered against the gathering dusk, casting long, dancing shadows across the crowd. The 70 warriors remained sentinel-like, white feathers gently swaying. 5 elders, including Ayana's grandfather, assumed positions facing him. Questions would come soon, and Sterling knew every answer could define him forever. Sterling's mind raced as the villagers moved around him with a fluid, silent precision. Every gesture, every glance, carried weight and meaning he did not yet comprehend. He followed Ayana to the dwelling where the elders gathered, his hands still trembling from the first moments of this unspoken test. The clay paint on his forehead, symbolizing trust and submission, still warm against his skin, served as a constant reminder of the fragile balance he now occupied. Outside, the sun dipped lower, spilling golden light over the stone circle and casting elongated shadows from the 100 or so villagers who had begun to assemble, each with eyes trained on him, each silently waiting for the ceremony to unfold. The 70 warriors from the ridge remained in their outer ring, white feathers now attached to horse bridles, forming a surreal forest of pale plumes that swayed in unison with the gentle evening breeze. Ayana stepped closer, her voice low yet firm. The first test begins now. You must answer their questions truthfully, without hiding anything, even from yourself. They will probe your heart, Sterling. Are you ready? He nodded, swallowing the lump of anxiety rising in his throat. Ready perhaps, but not unafraid. Not for what they would ask, and not for what the answers might reveal about himself. The 5 elders assumed positions facing him, each one adorned with ceremonial paint that marked their rank and experience. Ayana's grandfather, seated at the center, held an air of absolute authority. Sterling felt the weight of their scrutiny like a physical pressure on his chest. The questioning began gently, almost conversationally at first. "Why were you in Apache territory?" asked one of the male elders in Apache, his tone calm but incisive. Ayana translated. Sterling answered simply, recounting his search for new, grazing land after a devastating drought had destroyed his small ranch. "Where is your family?" another elder asked. Sterling's voice was steady, though his heart tightened. He spoke honestly. His parents were dead from fever. His sister had succumbed to complications in childbirth, and he had no wife or children of his own. The elders exchanged quiet, almost imperceptible glances. Then, the questions grew sharper, probing deeper into his intentions. "Did you help Ayana to gain favor with the Apache? Or was there some hidden benefit?" Sterling's chest tightened. "No," he said. "I expected nothing in return. I only knew leaving her to die would have been wrong." A female elder leaned forward, her gaze piercing. Her Apache words came fast, and Ayana's translation was careful, measured. "Why did you not take her to your people for care? Why return her to her own tribe, rather than gain recognition among the whites?" Sterling's hands clenched slightly, the rope biting into his wrists. He understood the question, not just logically, but in the marrow of his bones. Bringing her to his people would have been selfish, cruel even, tearing her from everything she knew.
He had chosen the path that preserved her dignity.
At the cost of his comfort and security. "I did not want to cause her more suffering," he said quietly. The male elder to his right leaned forward, voice cutting through the tension. "You condemned yourself to walk 20 miles with no horse, no weapons, and little water. Was this kindness to yourself or punishment for guilt you carry?" Sterling's breath caught. Memories flashed unbidden. His sister's dying eyes. The abandoned graves of his parents. The safe choices he had taken all his life rather than the right ones. Was helping Ayana redemption or punishment? "Maybe both," he admitted, voice barely above a whisper. The honesty surprised him more than the question. The elders conferred in muted tones, faces unreadable before Ayana's grandfather rose, his ceremonial voice carrying across the village. Sterling felt the words press against him like sunlight on stone. Ayana translated, her own voice trembling with the weight of the moment. "You have passed the first test. Your heart is true. They believe your motives pure. But now comes the second test, the test of sacrifice. Even I cannot say I would face it with courage." Sterling's stomach turned as two young warriors approached, carrying a wooden box with reverent care. The elder opened it slowly, revealing 5 arrows, each banded in a different color, each with a piece of painted leather etched with symbols. Sterling's pulse raced. The test of sacrifice requires you to choose who will face danger to prove your worthiness. Ayana whispered. He stared, horrified. He was expected to select one of the 5 volunteers to risk life and limb for his acceptance. The arrows represented near impossible trials. Crossing the Devil's Canyon rapids at night, retrieving a stone from a mountain cat's den, scaling a cliff no living person had ever climbed, negotiating peace with a hostile tribe, and enduring a rattlesnake bite followed by traditional medicine. Sterling shook his head, disbelief flooding his senses. I can't ask them to risk their lives for me. That isn't sacrifice. That's cruelty." Ayana's eyes met his, solemn and unwavering. "That is precisely the point. The trial measures your heart. Many choose an arrow for another, thinking one person's risk is acceptable for their own reward. But the true path," she hesitated, voice quivering with awe, "is to face the trials yourself." Every muscle in Sterling's body tensed. Refusing meant potentially certain death. Choosing an arrow for another meant risking the lives of innocents. Around him he saw the 5 volunteers, a boy barely past adolescence, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, a scarred older warrior, a teenage girl who reminded him painfully of his dead sister, and a man his own age with a family watching from the crowd. Sterling's chest constricted under the impossible choice. "What are the trials?" he asked, though he already understood. Ayana pointed to each arrow. Color-coded red for crossing Devil's Canyon at night, black for entering the mountain cat's den, white for climbing the unscalable cliff, yellow for negotiating peace with a rival tribe, and blue for enduring a rattlesnake bite. Each trial a brush with death, each a test of courage, skill, and luck. He could hand one over and live, or take them all and face near certain death himself. Sterling closed his eyes. His sister's words whispered in his memory. Courage is not the absence of fear, but the choice to do right even when fear consumes you. Some things are worth dying for. Protecting innocence sits atop that list. Eyes opening, he looked directly at Ayana's grandfather. "I won't choose an arrow for anyone. If someone faces these trials, it will be me. All 5 tonight." The crowd murmured in astonishment. Relief, awe, shock rippled across the volunteers' faces. But Sterling's attention snapped to the 70 warriors encircling the village. As one, they removed their white feathers from bridles and raised them, high above their heads, a forest of pale plumes against the darkening sky. The wind caught them, swaying them gently, and Sterling felt an unexplainable weight of acceptance. Ayana's grandfather rose slowly, studying Sterling with deep, unreadable emotion. He spoke in Apache, voice resonant and absolute. Ayana translated, voice trembling. "No man in our history has offered to face all 5 trials alone. Such willingness to die rather than cause harm to innocence proves a heart that is already Apache, whether your blood runs through you or not. The trials are ended. You have passed the test of sacrifice by showing you would rather die than allow others to suffer for your benefit. The horse gift law is satisfied. You are declared brother of our tribe." Sterling blinked, stunned. "But I haven't done anything yet," he said, voice barely audible. The elder smiled for the first time since Sterling had arrived, a smile full of warmth and quiet wisdom. Through Ayana, he spoke. "The trials exist to reveal the heart, not to cause death. A man who chooses certain death over allowing harm to others has already shown his heart completely. No further proof is needed. The villagers exhaled collectively. Sterling's eyes swept the crowd as the 70 warriors approached, dismounting in perfect unison. Each knelt to place his white feather at Sterling's feet, laying down knives, blankets, jewelry, and other offerings. Finally, a warrior brought forth Sterling's own horse, adorned now with Apache tack, decorated with symbols of honor and respect. The lead warrior, the gray-streaked man from the morning, stepped forward. Careful English came from his lips. "White brother, we came to witness judgment. We expected to take a body or escort a new tribal member to the mountains. We did not expect to meet a man worthy of our greatest honor." "What honor?" Sterling asked, overwhelmed. "You are invited to carry the protection of 70 families. Each feather represents a pledge that your safety is as important as that of a warrior's own children. Each gift represents a household that will shelter you, feed you, and defend you as long as you live. This has been given to only 3 white men in history, and never before to one not born among us." Ayana's grandfather approached Sterling, placing both hands on his shoulders. "You came as a stranger with a gift," he said, "and leave as a brother who receives 70 gifts in return. Your horse returns with honor markings, but more importantly, you have shown our people that some white men understand courage and sacrifice." Sterling mounted his horse, the weight of 70 feathers catching the starlight. He looked north to the mountains toward the grazing land waiting for him. Then back at the village, where he had discovered a part of himself he never knew existed. "I think I'll head north," he said, "and it seems I have some new neighbors to get to know." The 70 warriors formed an honor escort as Sterling rode out, white feathers glinting in the night, marking him forever as a man tested by fire and found worthy. The night air smelled of sage and smoke as Sterling rode slowly through the village, feeling the weight of 70 families, protection and trust pressing on him like a living thing. The torches lining the pathways cast a warm glow, illuminating the intricate details of dwellings built into the natural rock formations. Children peeked from behind woven mats, women paused in their work, and men tipped their heads respectfully. Even as he moved, Sterling sensed the lingering scrutiny, not of judgment but of curiosity and acceptance, the village's collective gaze weighing his every motion. Ayana rode beside him on her own horse, limp now hidden beneath her careful balance. "You have passed every test the elders could give," she said softly, voice still thick with relief. "You are now family, and yet your journey is only beginning. There is something you must understand about being an outsider who is now one of us." Sterling glanced at her, uncertainty and wonder reflected in his eyes. "What do you mean?" "Being a brother to the tribe means your actions carry weight beyond yourself. The law of the horse gift binds you not just in ceremony but in spirit. The choices you make, the courage you show, and the mercy you extend now have a life and breath that affect every member of this tribe. You will be tested again in ways that are not planned, in ways that the elders cannot foresee." Sterling nodded slowly, absorbing the enormity of what she said. He had thought he had only faced one impossible choice, but the horizon ahead promised a lifetime of responsibility. The village gradually fell silent as Sterling's horse trotted along the central path. He felt the cool night air on his face, the gentle pull of his own mount beneath him, the quiet thrum of a heart both relieved and burdened with new purpose. Ahead, the 70 warriors had gathered at the edge of the plateau, forming 2 lines to flank the path that led out of the village. Each white feather in the moonlight shimmered like a promise, a sentinel, a reminder of his oath and the trust placed upon him. Ayana guided Sterling to a clearing where her grandfather stood, framed against the natural rise of the rock, the ceremonial symbols on his garments catching the torchlight. His eyes, deep and unreadable, held a mixture of satisfaction and expectation. Sterling felt the pull of the moment, the gravity of ancient laws made flesh in his own life. The elder extended a hand, not in command, but in acknowledgement of what had been endured and what had been promised. Sterling dismounted and accepted it, feeling a shiver of respect and awe. "You have chosen the path of true sacrifice," Ayana translated. "Your courage has been witnessed and your heart has been judged as pure. You leave tonight as brother, protector, and honored guest. The village will remember your deeds and story for generations." Sterling bowed his head, overwhelmed by gratitude and the deep sense of responsibility now interwoven into his own life. The elder nodded slowly, then turned to address the 70 warriors. Sterling's ears caught the cadence of their voices as a low, melodic chant began, rising and falling like the river currents he had crossed days before. It was not war nor threat, but honor, binding him to the people who had accepted him. One by one, the warriors stepped forward, kneeling, and placing gifts at Sterling's horse's feet. Handcrafted knives, intricate jewelry, blankets woven with care, and finally, Sterling's own horse, adorned now in a saddle and bridle that spoke of reverence and trust. The lead warrior, the gray-streaked man who had first approached him, spoke carefully in English. "White brother, we came expecting judgment, possibly death. Instead, we find a man who has honored us and himself. You carry now not just your own life, but the protection and respect of 70 families. Your courage, mercy, and heart have become part of our story." Sterling mounted his horse once more, feeling the comforting weight of the white feathers on his saddle, each one a living pledge, a mark of unity between him and this tribe he had never sought to join but could never leave behind. He looked toward the horizon, where mountains rose in jagged silhouettes against the starlit sky, grazing lands promising new beginnings, and a life shaped by the choices of honor and courage. Ayana rode beside him, voice quiet yet steady. "Where will you go now, brother?" Sterling paused, chest full of thought, eyes scanning the infinite landscape ahead. "North," he said at last, "toward the mountains. There's land that needs tending, and neighbors I intend to learn from." The 70 warriors mounted in precise formation, flanking him in an honor escort. Their horses' hooves struck the earth in rhythm, white feathers catching moonlight, forming a living constellation around Sterling as he rode. The village behind him seemed to exhale, the flickering torchlight bathing every face in reverence, awe, and acceptance. As he passed the village, Sterling realized how profoundly he had changed. Every fear faced, every choice made, had sculpted him into something larger than the sum of his fears. The trials had tested not his strength alone, but his spirit, his understanding of sacrifice, and the depths of his own courage. Now, with the white feathers marking his passage in the village's trust, surrounding him, he was more than a cowboy. He was a man bound by honor, courage, and the sacred law of the horse gift, a brother among the Apache, a guardian of the stories that connected them all. The first hint of dawn tinged the western horizon as Sterling rode onward, the night's shadows retreating before the promise of day. Each beat of his horse's hooves carried him farther from what had been and closer to what had become, a life intertwined with destiny, honor, and an understanding of humanity that only those who truly give of themselves can ever know. He looked back one last time. The village, the warriors, Ayana, each figure etched against the morning light stood as a testament to choices made with courage, compassion, and integrity. Sterling's chest tightened, not with fear but with profound gratitude. In the distance, the mountains beckoned, and with them a future carved by decisions that honored both life and the sacred laws of those who had taught him their meaning. Sterling rode toward the unknown, not as a stranger, not as a mere cowboy, but as a man transformed, forever marked by fire, feather, and the enduring power of choice. And for the first time in his life, he felt wholly ready for whatever trials lay ahead.